Renting is throwing money away. You've heard this. Maybe you've said it. It's one of the most repeated pieces of financial advice in existence, and it's also one of the most misleading. The truth is that whether buying or renting is the better financial decision depends entirely on the numbers, your specific numbers, in your specific city, at this specific moment. And when you actually run the math, buying isn't automatically the winner. Sometimes it is. But not always, and not even most of the time for people in their 20s in high cost of living areas. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the real math, every cost on both sides, so you can make this decision with your eyes open instead of based on a phrase your uncle said at dinner. Let's start with the costs most people think about when renting, your monthly rent payment. That's it. That's what most people consider. And yes, that money goes to a landlord and doesn't build equity. That part is true. But here's what people don't factor in when comparing renting to buying: the opportunity cost of the down payment. Let's say you're buying a $400,000 home and you put 20% down, that's $80,000. If you didn't buy a house and invested that $80,000 in a diversified index fund instead, at a historical average return of 7% per year, after 10 years you'd have roughly $157,000. That's $77,000 of growth your money produced while you rented. The down payment isn't free. It has a cost, the return you're giving up by putting it into home equity instead of the market. Now let's look at the full cost of owning that $400,000 home. Mortgage payment, at current rates around 6.5%, a 30-year mortgage on $320,000 is approximately $2,023 per month. Property taxes, varies, but national average is about 1% of home value per year, that's $333 per month. Homeowners insurance, roughly $150 per month. HOA fees if applicable, let's skip this, but it can add $200 to $600 in many areas. Maintenance, 1% of home value per year is the rule of thumb, that's $333 per month on average. Total monthly cost of owning a $400,000 home, roughly $2,839 per month, not including the opportunity cost of the down payment. Compare that to renting a comparable home in the same area. If rent is $2,200 per month, you're paying $639 less per month by renting. Over a year, that's $7,668 you can invest instead. But wait, what about equity? Isn't that the whole point of buying? Yes, and this is where it gets more nuanced. Your monthly mortgage payment is partly building equity and partly paying interest. In the early years of a 30-year mortgage, the split is heavily weighted toward interest. In year one of that $320,000 mortgage at 6.5%, roughly $1,730 of each $2,023 payment goes to interest. Only $293 is actually building equity. So in year one, you're paying $293 per month toward equity, and the rest is gone just like rent. It takes about 15 years before your payments are split roughly evenly between principal and interest. Now, you do benefit from home appreciation. Historically, U.S. home prices have appreciated about 3 to 4% per year. On a $400,000 home, that's $12,000 to $16,000 per year in paper gains, though you don't access that money unless you sell or take out a loan against the equity. But here's the critical point: that appreciation percentage applies to the full home value, not just your equity. So home appreciation can outperform the stock market in terms of return on the down payment, but it depends heavily on when you buy and where. So when does buying actually win? The data consistently shows that buying makes the most financial sense when you stay in the home for at least 7 to 10 years. The reason is transaction costs. Buying and selling a home costs between 8% and 10% of the home's value, realtor commissions, closing costs, title insurance. On a $400,000 home, you're paying $32,000 to $40,000 just to buy and then sell. If you buy and sell within 3 years, those costs alone eat most of your equity gains. The break-even point, where buying beats renting financially, depends on local rent-to-price ratios, appreciation rates, and interest rates. In expensive cities like San Francisco or New York, renting often wins unless you hold for 15+ years. In lower-cost cities with strong appreciation, buying can win in 5 to 7 years. The framework I'd use to make this decision: the price-to-rent ratio. Divide the home's purchase price by the annual rent of a comparable property. If a home costs $400,000 and comparable rent is $2,000 per month, $24,000 per year, the ratio is 16.7. Generally, under 15 means buying favors you. 15 to 20 is a gray zone, depends on your situation. Over 20, renting is likely the better financial move unless you have a strong reason to buy. In many major US and European cities right now, price-to-rent ratios are 25 to 35 or higher. That's a mathematical signal that renting is cheaper. Here's what this all means practically. If you plan to stay somewhere for 10+ years, can afford a 20% down payment without depleting your savings, and the price-to-rent ratio is under 18, buying is probably the right financial move. You also get stability, the ability to customize, and protection from rent increases. If you're in your mid-20s, uncertain about where you'll be in 5 years, in a high cost of living city, or don't have a 20% down payment ready, renting isn't a failure. It might be exactly the right financial decision. You keep your flexibility, your down payment invested in growing, and your monthly costs lower. The worst financial outcome isn't renting long-term. It's buying at the wrong time, in the wrong place, and being forced to sell in under 5 years. To sum up, buying isn't automatically better than renting. Run the price-to-rent ratio. Factor in the opportunity cost of your down payment. Plan to stay for at least 7 to 10 years if you buy. And ignore anyone who tells you renting is throwing money away, until they show you the math. Your next step: look up the price-to-rent ratio in your city. The number will tell you more than any advice ever will.